The thought or the truth highlighted by the Indo-Pak conflict, its beginning, its progress, and its abrupt conclusion. I have always believed that what really matters in the end is not what other people do to us, but what sense we make of it and what possibilities, challenges, and opportunities we read in it or through it. Anybody can do anything to us, and it's up to us to shape it the way we want. And in order to shape it in a very profitable, noble manner, we have to be that kind of people. So ultimately, whatever happens from day to day is a test of who we are. Now, you would wonder how this connects to the Indo-Pak conflict, the very unfortunate situation that prevails even at the time of doing this video. Now, let's start with the immediate context. Orchestrated and enormous attempts are being made. Various strategies are being resorted to in order to prove and convince to the people of India that we fared very well. And our technology, our strategy, our know how, our level of preparedness, everything was superior to that of the adversary. Well, as an Indian, I would like to believe that that was the case. In which case, of course, the question would arise as to how India agreed to a ceasefire just like that. It's a question that begs answers. But let's not get stuck with that. I have been searching through foreign media, quite a large amount of material, and something that the Western press, Western journalistic fraternity that really does not have any vested interests, pro-Pakistan, India, pro-India, that kind of polarization. All of them say in one voice about one thing. Therefore, we can't ignore it. And the one thing that practically every foreign journalist today, not only journalists, but also military experts, every one of them is highlighting one thing today, and that is the amazing advancement that China has registered in military technology. I think the one issue that has taken the whole world by surprise is where China has reached. And therefore, quite naturally, quite understandably, and unmistakably, the decisive factor in the Indo-Pak confrontation, paradoxically, was not America, it was China. This is going by whatever research I have done on the subject till this moment. Now, why do I say this? I don't say this in order to praise China to the skies. That's not my intention, it's not my job. I have to mention this in order to come to the main theme I want to argue in this video, which I believe is extremely significant for the days ahead, for the good of my country. Ultimately, what makes a difference is not which country you cultivate, which multinational corporation comes and manufactures something in your land, which kind of propaganda you unleash, what kind of euphoria you create with whatever means that you have. What prevails in the end is the truth. After all, the national motto is Satyameva Jayate in Anartham. Truth alone prevails. It's very true. And every war is also our date with truth. And something that we, all of us as Indians, genuine, meaningful patriots, something that we have to do is to read the truths that has come to light through this episode and The truth that I read, the writing on the wall is this: India has to develop. I'm afraid we are not developing in the true sense of the term. Uh, Borrowing technology from this, that, and the other, and creating some kind of hype about having more and more billionaires, or quoting statistics about economic progress, etc. It's nothing compared to the actual development of a nation. If you're always borrowing technology, if you're piggy riding with somebody else, how will you ever have cutting edge technology? Other countries will give you only the second grade technology they can afford to dispense with. We have somehow been quite satisfied with being behind the leader, as it were. At the same time, we talk about our great past. There was a time when India was a leader in shipbuilding. We had internet, we had plastic surgery, we had stem cell research, so on and so, Pushpak Viman, and aviation. All this we talk about. But what's the level of our investment in research and development? What are the breathtaking innovations and discoveries we have made? The idea of making in India has its own positive side, I accept, but its flip side is you only become the space where other people who have done their research and development in their countries, they come here and use your land as their workshop. That's all that's happening. That has its economic spin-off for us, I don't doubt it. And therefore, in the absence of better things to do, this is certainly a good option. And therefore, I don't want to belittle its economic spin-off. But as a long-term strategy, this is counterproductive. So, the one thing that comes through very clearly to me from this episode is that we are today nowhere near the mark in terms of our own innate development and developing of our various capacities, our skills, etc. And therefore, as someone who has been in the domain of education, higher education all my life, I have to say that we have never done enough, and even today we are not doing enough to unleash our true potential. I have no doubt at all that the genius of the Indian people is truly awesome. We are not second to anyone in this world, including the Chinese. But unfortunately, in the way we have organized ourselves, the culture that we have developed, this lackadaisical culture, this culture of negativity, which lends itself, by the way, very readily to this divide and rule kind of strategy, of which the politics of hatred is the most manifest example. All this is choking us from within, including the caste system, which by creating a very stable and neat hierarchy excludes the vast majority of people from this whole exciting project of national development, developing India. We say that our population is 140 crores or 1.4 billion people, but how many of them can effectively participate in nation building is a very, very startling question. We have not empowered our people to participate. And therefore, the so called demographic dividend is not obtained. India has a huge army of workers, the youth of India. What percentage of this potential is actually made use of by us? Unemployment problem, for example. Uh, our unemployment problem affects our attitude to education because we believe that educating people or broad-basing education is suicidal because if people become educated, they will demand jobs. We have no jobs to give. Therefore, the only way we can sort of put the lid on human aspirations is by denying people the right or the opportunity, not the right, the opportunity and access to education. Uh, then you would say, well, the enrollment ratio today is almost 70%, 75%. But getting admission to a college is nothing. It all depends on what kind of college it is. I dare say that about 70% of the colleges in this country are not worth studying in. The products of these institutions are good for very little. They're certainly not the kind of stuff that would constitute the cutting edge, researchers, etc., etc. Those who can power the nation building project. One of the major achievements of China, and one of the key factors that served as a catalyst for the amazing progress of China, is the educational development of the youth of China. Of course, the opportunities or facilities for higher education in China were not adequate enough, and therefore tens and thousands of talented young Chinese people went to foreign universities, particularly the outstanding universities of America, for higher education. They returned to China and they are driving this huge, miraculous project. Therefore, the irony of modern history is that America, unwittingly, unknowingly, is serving as a catalyst for the Chinese miracle that's unfolding itself right in front of our eyes. Now, Indians also are going abroad, but almost every one of them would want to stay back. When I finished my higher education, my postgraduate education, everybody thought that I would go to a foreign university. I decided to stay back in this country. And when I joined the English department, the faculty of St. Stephen's College, in the last, say, 40 years, several of my colleagues have gone to America for their higher education. Let me say this, even 5% of those who went did not come back. So that's the level of our attachment to nation, or commitment to nation building. That is because these people who go abroad and earn great merit, etc., they do not have a healthy work culture to come back to India. If they come back to India, they feel choked. And from my own experience, I can tell you that in India, you don't stand at risk of getting into trouble if you're mediocre. But you could get into any amount of trouble if you are a person of genius, if you have merit and substance in you. If you show signs of merit, then you could get into serious trouble in this country. This is my own experience. So the time has come for us to realize that there is something seriously wrong with our country. And I don't say this in order to discredit India. I say this because I believe that we can correct this. And unless and until this is corrected, we cannot go forward. I remember Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who in 2000 came to Kerala, stayed in Kumaragam on the New Year Eve, and wrote a series of 3 articles. And these 3 articles were published by all newspapers in this country. They are known as the Kumaragam Musings of Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I'm sure many of you have read it. And one of the things that he laments in those articles is the fact that India has not been able to develop a healthy work culture. Why not? Why not? How can a nation develop? How can a nation progress? How can a nation become strong if it does not have a healthy work culture? What confuses me most is this. This country is full of patriots. How come this country has no work culture? The most authentic expression of your patriotism is that you develop a healthy, robust work culture. What's the proof that you love the country? The real proof is that you derive great pleasure out of serving the country, working for the country. But with us, it's the other way around. Here, patriotism and corruption go hand in hand. The more patriotic you are, the more corrupt you are apt to be. That's why somebody said patriotism is the most flourishing business in India. And if there is no money in patriotism, there will be no patriots in this country. These are not my opinions. This is what people say, and I've mainly quoted them. So, a very important message is brought home to us through this episode. Namely, so far we have banged on rhetoric and propaganda and making people believe that everything is hunky-dory, we are great and we are progressing, and not even the sky is the limit. Our potential is truly great. Look at our space program. But we who are so good at the space program, which is cutting edge technology, how come we are not good in other areas? How come we don't have technology even to manufacture a good car? Every good car today is of foreign design, foreign origin, foreign spare parts, etc., etc. Even Tatas and Mahindras use quite a bit of foreign imported parts. The supply chains, everything should come from China. Why? Why is it that we can't even manufacture a good enough toothbrush, a good fountain pen? Have you seen it? I remember from my college days, I used to write with a Chinese pen, very cheap but very good Chinese pen. Japan Pilot pen was available in those days, but it was too expensive for me. Therefore, I had to have recourse to the cheap Chinese pen, which served me very well. How come we couldn't? Even today, we don't manufacture a good pen. Why is a pen not important? Well, you'd say ballpoint pens. But where do you manufacture the balls? Who manufactures it for the ballpoint pen? So it's high time that we realize the truth about ourselves. The truth about ourselves is we are an absolute genius, no question about it. Put Indians in the right culture, we would be the world beaters. Truth number two. Unfortunately, the culture, the mindset, the attitude to life we have developed spoils everything. We don't have that greatness of vision, the geniality of the spirit, the adventure of our faith, that sense of the aristocracy of the spirit that enables us to celebrate life, its many possibilities. We have become too small in our thinking, too narrow in our attitude, too negative in our ways. And unless and until this changes, my dear friends, in comparison to this, Pakistan is nothing. The real problem with us is not Pakistan or China. We are defeating ourselves. We are obstructing, strangulating our own possibilities. And others can hurt us only to the extent that we are hurting ourselves. Why can't Indians even live together in amity? Why can't we love each other? Why can't we overlook superficial differences? Why can't we at least tolerate each other, if not celebrate differences? What do we achieve by hating each other? What do we achieve by hindering each other's progress? What do we achieve by hurting, by intimidating, by making life miserable for each other? Don't we realize that our internal weakness is bound to make us cheap in the eyes of the world? So the time has come for us to have a very critical look at ourselves. Ultimately, we can't change the world. The only thing we can change is ourselves. Fortunately, that is sufficient. But again, as a last thing that many people who are drunk with the heady wine of self-importance, megalomania, would undertake. But there is no alternative. Truth is today knocking us on our foreheads. This is no way forward. There's no future for this. We have to take a different path. We have to wake up. And the true contribution of a great leader, a national leader, is to awaken, activate, and channelize the awesome energies of India in the right path, the path of nation building, so that we can compete with the Chinas, the South Koreas, and the Taiwans of the world, and this dream of becoming the third largest economy. It's not a big thing, provided we do justice to our potential. We talk about it as though it is, turning the Himalayas upside down. It seems so because we have done tremendous injustice to ourselves for such a long, long period of time, so that it now seems difficult for us to believe in our own potential. We have become experts in crippling ourselves. Look at any Indian who gets an opportunity to go to some of these Western societies. I know my students have gone to other universities. They have excelled. Whenever I visited these universities, the senior faculty there would tell me, "We're amazed at the way your students come here and excel." And yet, these very young men and women were not particularly excited about their intellectual potential when they were even in St. Stephen's College. So there is a difference. There is a difference. And our attitude has to change. The problem is not at a distance. The problem is not the other. The problem, we are ourselves the problem. I know this is not a very uh, profitable thing to say. This is not a politically correct thing to say. But this is the truth. Truth has to be realized. If we are to take one step forward, truth alone will help us. Satyameva Jayate Jnanardam. Jai Hind. Namaskaram. Salam undi.